My husband arrived at our gate with a pregnant woman, 3 suitcases, and his mother, then announced that she was his second wife and would be moving into my house that night. Kojo stood beneath the porch light with one hand resting on the younger woman's back. She wore a cream dress that showed the curve of her pregnancy, and she carried herself with the nervous confidence of someone who had already been promised victory. Behind them, my mother-in-law directed 2 drivers as they unloaded luggage from a black vehicle. "Take the large cases upstairs," she instructed. "The room beside the family lounge will be best for the baby." I looked at Kojo. "You brought another woman into my home and assigned her a bedroom?" He straightened his jacket. "Her name is Efua. She is 5 months pregnant with my child. I have decided to take responsibility properly." My mother-in-law moved closer, her gold shawl shining under the lights. "A sensible African wife does not create a public scene when her husband is protecting his future," she said. "You have had 7 years. This young woman is giving him what this marriage has not." The insult had an audience. Kojo's older sister, 2 cousins, and 3 family elders were already sitting in my living room. His mother had invited them earlier, claiming that the family needed to discuss an urgent matter. Kojo had not merely brought his mistress home, he had arranged witnesses to pressure me into accepting her. Efua rested a hand over her stomach. "Kojo said there are 6 bedrooms," she said. "I do not want trouble. I only want somewhere peaceful until the baby comes." "He also said this house belongs to him, I assume?" Her eyes flickered towards Kojo. He answered for her. "This is our marital home. You cannot keep using technical ownership to humiliate me." Technical ownership. I looked at the suitcases, the relatives waiting inside, and the man who believed public embarrassment would make me surrender. Then I stepped aside. "Come in." Relief crossed Kojo's face. His mother smiled as though she had just won an argument that had lasted years. What none of them knew was that Kojo had already tried to mortgage the house without my permission, and the documents he used carried a signature that was not mine. By sunrise, the question would no longer be where Efua would sleep. It would be whether Kojo had any marriage, home, or reputation left to protect. Kojo and I had met 8 years earlier at a business dinner in Accra. I worked in property development, managing commercial projects and investing in small residential buildings with 2 colleagues. He ran a marketing agency and could make almost anyone believe in his next idea. He was confident without appearing arrogant, attentive without seeming desperate, and ambitious in a way I found attractive. The house in East Legon was already mine. My father had left me a modest inheritance. I combined it with years of savings, sold 2 investment flats, and completed the house more than a year before I met Kojo. The land title, building permits, and financing records were all in my name. Kojo knew that from the beginning. During our courtship, he often praised my independence. "You did not wait for anyone to build your life," he once said. "That is what makes you different." After our marriage, however, the difference he admired became something he wanted to hide. At first, he called it our home. I liked that. Marriage was supposed to turn separate lives into a shared one. Then he began referring to it as his house when speaking to friends. He hosted business meetings without asking me. He told visitors that he had designed the property. During an interview about young entrepreneurs, he posed beside the swimming pool and described the house as one of the rewards of his success. When I questioned him, he laughed. "Adwoa, we are married. People do not need a lecture about whose name appears on every document." "It is not a lecture, it is the truth." He kissed my forehead. "You worry too much about details." That became Kojo's answer whenever facts made him uncomfortable. His marketing company performed well for several years, but success made him reckless. He leased expensive offices, hired more staff than he needed, and began funding a transport business with borrowed money. He believed confidence could replace cash flow. When contracts were delayed, he refused to reduce his expenses. He borrowed from suppliers, friends, and private lenders, while continuing to wear tailored suits and host clients in expensive restaurants. I paid most of our household costs because he said his money was tied up in expansion. I did not resent helping my husband. I resented being told that questions were disrespectful. His mother supported him in everything. According to her, a wife proved loyalty by protecting her husband from embarrassment. If I asked about unpaid bills, I was undermining him. If I refused to fund another venture, I was selfish. If I reminded anyone that the house belonged to me, I was humiliating her son. Our struggle to have children gave her another weapon. I had suffered a miscarriage 3 years into the marriage. Kojo refused counseling and avoided the medical appointments I asked him to attend. His mother told relatives that I had delayed motherhood because I cared more about my career. Kojo knew the truth, but he rarely corrected her. Instead, he would tell me privately not to take her words seriously. That was one of his greatest talents, apologizing in private for behavior he allowed in public. 9 months before he brought Efua home, he began spending several nights away each week. He claimed his transport business had secured work outside Accra and required constant supervision. Then, unfamiliar payments appeared in the household account. There were restaurant bills, transfers to a letting agency, and payments to a private clinic. When I asked about the clinic, he said he had helped an employee whose child was ill. I almost believed him. The truth reached me through a telephone call from a bank. A relationship manager asked when I would be available to confirm my consent to a loan secured against the East Legon property. "I have not applied for a loan," I said. There was a pause. "The application was submitted by your husband. We have a letter stating that you agreed to offer the property as security." I asked her to send everything to my lawyer. The consent letter carried a copy of my signature. At a glance, it looked convincing. But Kojo had copied the way I signed my first name and missed the small break I always made before my surname. The title document was worse. It had been altered to suggest that Kojo and I jointly owned the house. My lawyer, Abena, placed the papers on her desk. "This appears to be a false document submitted to a financial institution," she said. "Do not confront him until we secure the original records and notify the bank formally." The loan application was frozen. The bank verified the official title, and I moved the original documents into secure storage. That was the first moment I understood that Kojo's betrayal went beyond another woman. He was willing to risk the only home I had built with my own hands to save a business he refused to admit was failing. If you enjoy stories where hidden truths finally come to light, subscribe to Secrets Beneath the Baobab. I did not confront him immediately. Instead, I began to watch more carefully. A shared tablet he had stopped using still received some of his messages. Through it, I discovered Efua. She was 28 and worked in event management. Kojo had met her at a product launch and told her our marriage had ended emotionally years earlier. He claimed I lived mostly abroad. He told her I had agreed that he could begin another family. He said the house belonged to him and would eventually become the home she raised their child in. He had even sent her photographs of the guest wing and promised to put her name on it after the baby was born. The more I read, the clearer his plan became. He intended to mortgage my property, rescue his transport company, and use the remaining funds to support the life he had promised Efua. He had lied to both of us, but he had made me the obstacle in every version of the story. Abena advised me to separate our finances immediately. I closed the household account, transferred recurring home payments to an account only I controlled, and changed access instructions with the banks. We also reviewed the legal position carefully. Kojo might attempt to make claims during a divorce, but he was not the registered owner. He could not legally mortgage the house, transfer it, or promise any part of it to someone else. He also had no right to move another partner into the property without my agreement. Abena prepared formal notices and contacted a security consultant. I did not know exactly when I would need them. Then Kojo's mother telephoned and invited the family to my home. By the time Kojo arrived with Efua, I had already understood that the evening was meant to trap me. After they entered, my mother-in-law told the drivers to take the luggage upstairs. "No," I said. Everyone turned. "The bags will remain downstairs." Kojo's expression hardened. Do not begin this, Adwoa. You announced that she was entering the house. I did not agree that she was moving into a bedroom. His mother folded her arms. Where do you expect a pregnant woman to sleep? That is a question your son should have answered before bringing her here. Uncle Kweku, the oldest family elder present, raised a hand. Let us sit and speak calmly. We moved into the living room. Kojo sat between his mother and Efua, presenting them as the new center of the family. I took the armchair opposite them. Efua came down the staircase slowly. My mother-in-law appeared behind her. Adwoa, whatever this is, do not disgrace Kojo in front of outsiders. Abena looked at her. I am not an outsider. I am Adwoa's lawyer. She placed the certified documents on the table. This property was acquired and registered solely by Adwoa Mensah before her marriage to Kojo Boateng. Mr. Boateng is not named as an owner, joint owner, or authorized representative. My mother-in-law shook her head. That is impossible. My son built this house. I slid the completion certificate towards her. The house was completed 14 months before I met him. She looked at Kojo, waiting for him to deny it. He said nothing. Abena placed the altered title beside the official one. A loan application was submitted using this modified copy. A consent letter also carried a signature that Adwoa denies providing. The bank suspended the application after checking the official records. Uncle Kweku turned to Kojo. Did you submit these papers? My business needed temporary funding. That is not an answer, the elder said. Kojo's voice rose. I intended to repay the money. The house would never have been at risk. You applied for a loan large enough to place the entire property at risk, I said. You did not tell me because you knew I would refuse. It is our marital home. It was our home because I shared it with you. Sharing a home did not give you permission to forge ownership. Efua picked up the altered document. This is the one you showed me. Kojo reached for it. She moved away. You said Adwoa had signed her interest over to you. I said we were dealing with the paperwork. You said there was no debt. Abena opened another folder. The transport company has substantial unpaid obligations. Several vehicles are already subject to repossession, and 2 private lenders have issued formal demands. Kojo stared at me. You investigated my business? I investigated the reason you tried to mortgage my house. Efua gripped the edge of the chair. What about the apartment? Kojo looked at her. What apartment? My mother-in-law asked. Efua's face changed. The place he said he owned for us. It is rented, I said. The deposit and several monthly payments came from our household account. Efua looked at Kojo as though she no longer recognized him. You told me you purchased it. I was planning to. What about the trust you said you created for the baby? He did not answer. My mother-in-law turned on Efua. This family matter is becoming confused because you keep repeating private conversations. Efua laughed once without humor. You brought me here to claim a room in another woman's house. I brought you here because my son is taking responsibility, she replied. No, you brought me here because you believed the house belonged to him. The accusation landed exactly where it needed to. My mother-in-law had supported Kojo because she believed Efua's pregnancy would secure wealth, property, and status for her son's future child. Without the house, her principles began to look less traditional and more convenient. Kojo turned to me. Let us speak privately. You announced your second wife publicly. I was under pressure. From whom? He looked at his mother, then at Efua. Neither woman accepted the blame he was trying to hand them. Abena gave him the formal letters. The first notified him that I had withdrawn permission for any third party to occupy the property. The second informed him that divorce proceedings were being prepared and that the attempted use of false property documents had been reported to the relevant bank officers. The third requested that he provide a written undertaking not to remove, damage, or dispose of anything belonging to the house. Kojo read the pages quickly. You cannot evict me in one morning. Whatever rights you think you have can be addressed through the proper process, Abena said. They do not make you the owner, and they do not allow you to move another partner into the property. I faced him. You already maintain a rented apartment. You can stay there while our lawyers deal with the separation. His mother lifted both hands. You expect my son to leave his own home? Uncle Kweku spoke before I could. It is not his home by ownership. It was his home by marriage, and he is the one who broke that arrangement. Kojo stared at the elder. You are taking her side. I am taking the side of the documents and the truth. Efua walked towards the entrance hall. Call the driver, she told Kojo. He followed her. Do not make a decision while you are angry, she turned. You told me your wife knew about us. You told me this house belonged to you. You promised me a room you had no right to enter. I am still the father of your child. Yes, that means you will support your child. It does not make your lies true. My mother-in-law moved towards her. Efua, do not leave. We can resolve this as a family. Efua looked at her. You wanted me here because you thought I would give your son an heir inside a rich man's house. Now you know whose house it is, and suddenly you want patience. She called her brother and waited outside. Before leaving, she came back to where I stood. I am sorry, she said. He told me you had chosen your career and no longer wanted the marriage. I wanted my marriage. I did not want a marriage built on lies. Her eyes filled. I believed him. So did I. I did not embrace her or pretend that her choices had not hurt me. She had entered my home prepared to replace me. But I also recognized that Kojo had built her confidence with the same deception he had used to build his reputation. Her brother collected her less than an hour later. Kojo packed 2 suitcases while the security consultant remained nearby. He took clothes, personal papers, and his laptop. He tried to remove files from the home office, but I stopped him. Anything relating to the loan application stays. He looked at me with a bitterness I had never seen before. You have planned this for weeks. I prepared after I discovered what you planned for months. At the door, he lowered his voice. You will regret making this permanent. It became permanent when you forged my signature. He left with his mother. The property confrontation ended that morning, but the consequences were only beginning. The bank launched an internal investigation. Kojo claimed that an employee had prepared the documents and that he had signed the loan application without checking every attachment. The explanation did not remove the altered title or the false consent letter. One private lender repossessed 3 vehicles from his transport company. Another obtained a repayment agreement against future income. His marketing agency lost 2 major clients after rumors of his financial problems spread. I did not contact the clients or speak publicly about him, but the successful image he had maintained depended on people believing his businesses and lifestyle were secure. Once the truth appeared, confidence disappeared quickly. A month after he left, I received a call from Efua. I need to tell you something, she said. Kojo had asked her to sign a document shortly before the family meeting. He described it as an agreement protecting the baby's future. After showing it to her lawyer, she discovered that it included a clause stating that she had lent him money for business purposes. The amount listed was far larger than anything she had given him. He wanted evidence that I was one of his creditors, she said. I think he planned to use it if the company collapsed. Did you sign it? No. That was another future he had tried to manufacture with paperwork. Efua did not become his second wife. She moved in with her brother and handled child support arrangements through a lawyer. She gave birth to a daughter several months later. Kojo remained involved with the child, but the relationship between him and Efua ended before the birth. My mother-in-law blamed me for weeks. She told relatives that I had chosen property over marriage and abandoned her son when his businesses were struggling. Uncle Kweku eventually corrected her. Kojo did not lose Adwoa's house, he said. He lost permission to live in it after trying to use what was not his. That sentence traveled through the family faster than any defense I could have offered. The divorce process was difficult but not dramatic. Lawyers argued about finances, household contributions, and personal property. My house remained mine. Kojo's attempted loan did not give him ownership, and his debts could not simply be transferred to me because we had been married. For the first few months after he left, the quiet felt unnatural. The house had been filled for years with his meetings, relatives, telephone calls, and urgent business plans. I had spent so long protecting his confidence that I had forgotten how exhausting it was to live beside a person who treated every boundary as an insult. I converted his office into a reading room. I removed the oversized desk he had bought with household money and placed 2 comfortable chairs beside the window. The room his mother had chosen for Efua's nursery became a small studio where I developed workshops about property ownership, title documents, and financial boundaries. I never told women not to trust their partners. I told them that trust should never require blindness. One evening, almost a year after Kojo arrived with Efua, I sat on the veranda while rain crossed Accra. The house no longer felt like evidence in a dispute. It felt like mine again. For years, Kojo and his family praised my patience when that patience protected his image. The moment I used the same strength to protect myself, they called me proud. That experience taught me the difference between peace and surrender. Peace does not require you to disappear so that someone else can feel powerful. Love does not turn your signature, your property, or your future into another person's entitlement. And a woman who finally closes the door is not cruel simply because others had become comfortable walking through it without permission. What would you have done in my position? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more stories from beneath the Baobab. I converted his office into a reading room. I removed the oversized desk he had bought with household money and placed 2 comfortable chairs beside the window. The room his mother had chosen for Efua's nursery became a small studio where I developed workshops about property ownership, title documents, and financial boundaries. I never told women not to trust their partners. I told them that trust should never require blindness. One evening, almost a year after Kojo arrived with Efua, I sat on the veranda while rain crossed Accra. The house no longer felt like evidence in a dispute. It felt like mine again. For years, Kojo and his family praised my patience when that patience protected his image. The moment I used the same strength to protect myself, they called me proud. That experience taught me the difference between peace and surrender. Peace does not require you to disappear so that someone else can feel powerful. Love does not turn your signature, your property, or your future into another person's entitlement. And a woman who finally closes the door is not cruel simply because others had become comfortable walking through it without permission. What would you have done in my position? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more stories from beneath the Baobab.